Another thing to know about is seller contributions. There's a lot of misinformation around that. So I just want to be clear. The rule is all right, so now that you know a little bit about a VA home loan, let's dig a little bit deeper and start talking about some of the things that you really should know about a VA home loan. So dealing with income, even though VA loans are excellent as far as a loan program, they are very particular about their income because there's no down payment. So if you have an income source that's a variable income source like overtime or bonuses, or you're a truck driver getting paid by the mile, or you get the server, or you get paid tips and stuff, those are fluctuating. You have to be in that line of work and being paid by that way for a minimum of 2 years, or you won't be able to use the income because it's not stable, predictable, and likely to continue. Another thing to know about is seller contributions. There's a lot of misinformation around that. So I just want to be clear. The rule is 4% of the sales price can be used in seller concessions, but there's only certain fees that go to that 4%. And it's paying for the VA funding fee, paying for permanent rate interest rate buy downs, paying for prepaids like insurance and escrows and interest, paying off debts. VA loans allow the seller to pay debts of the VA buyer at closing. So other closing costs, other costs that are normal and customary for the interest rate, those are not part of the 4%. So you literally can have 5, 6, 7, 8% in seller contributions, still be a legal VA loan because you're not crossing over that 4% rule. It's kind of confusing. Talk to a lender like me who knows how to do it, but VA loans allow for a lot of concessions to come from the seller to help the VA buyer. Gift donors. Gift donors, pretty much anybody. There's not even a section in the VA handbook for gift donors, so don't even really worry about it, but it's super easy to document the source of funds. A letter that says I'm the donor, I'm giving the money, they don't have to repay it, and we normally get a wire confirmation from the donor's bank account directly to title so you can use those funds. How about occupancy? VA is a primary residence loan, but it's the best loan when dealing with occupancy because sometimes our servicemen and women are deployed. They may be in a foreign country or maybe they're in another state. If you're trying to buy a house in the city that you're from, right? Have you had a consistent presence in the past in that city? So let's use San Antonio, for example. I've got a VA buyer, they're deployed in Iraq, they want to buy a house in San Antonio. They're from San Antonio, grew up in San Antonio. They could buy a house in San Antonio, be living overseas, and we could use what's called intermittent occupancy to be able to purchase that home because they're buying a house from where they're from. When they stop serving our country, and they rotate out, right? Where do they go? Go home, right? And so VA allows for that. VA also allows for people who may be in another state because they're working, but they're coming back. Maybe the employer that they were with sent them remotely to another location. Generally, you have to occupy the property within 60 days of closing. VA has some flexibility rules around that. They also allow for the spouse or dependent child to satisfy that occupancy. So dealing with occupancy, VA has a lot of flexibility around that. How about rental income? How's that looked at? If you're buying a rental property, like a multi-unit rental property, and you need the benefit of the other units to qualify, you need to have 6 months worth of reserves in the bank. Maybe you don't have that much, right? Because the mortgage payment is $3,000. Well, 6 months is $18,000. You would have to have in reserves, right? If you need the benefit. If you qualify income-wise and you don't need the benefit, cool, you don't need the reserves. But that's the thing that gets people hung up is like, I don't have the reserves. Here's a hack. Go borrow the money, right? Put the money in your bank account. We verify that it's there, and now you got the 6 months reserves. VA does allow you to borrow the money that you need for funds to close or for assets. It's the only loan program that will allow you to borrow and buy. That's a cool hack to get around with. Residual income. Residual income is the main determining factor to decide if this is a good idea for the VA buyer. Remember, VA loans are supposed to be a benefit to the VA buyer. They've got specific guidelines around how much money needs to be left depending upon where the property is and the loan amount and the family factor. You can reduce the family factor or the family factor guideline depending upon if they're active duty or not, or depending upon where the closest military base is. So those are great ways to kind of squeeze the residual income guideline down to help that VA buyer get approved. How about non-allowables? You'll hear the term non-allowables, the seller can't pay for this, the buyer can't pay for this. Essentially, VA allows the lender to charge 1% to render their decision, right? So essentially, if the loan amount's $300,000, then $3,000 would be allowed to be charged by the lender to render that decision for the VA buyer. So Normally non-allowable fees for us equal around $2,000, right? So we never really get into that. If there are some fees that the seller needs to pay, that's why a good lender and realtor relationship are there. So they structure the offer with confidence so it's lined up the way it's supposed to be. At the end of the day, there are certain fees that VA won't let the VA buyer pay. And so somebody's got to pony up. It's not the VA buyer, it's going to be the seller, okay? How about bankruptcies? How are those viewed, right? Lots of flexibility. Love it that on a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you can actually buy a home and still be in the bankruptcy. There's a couple of tricks to it. You got to be in the bankruptcy for a year. You have to have permission from the trustee that you can buy a house, and you have to have made all of your payments for the last 12 months on time. So if you get a letter from the trustee that says you can, you've made your payments on time, you got acceptable credit, you can actually buy a house while you're in bankruptcy. And remember, life sometimes doesn't treat us fairly, and sometimes bad things happen to good people, and it's in your past, right? You recover from it. It's not likely to happen again. Look at all the positive steps. That's a reason to give a VA buyer an approval, and that's something that we do on the daily. Collection debt. VA actually wants you to pay back the debts that you owe, right? So sometimes in the past, things don't go right, and we've got some debts that we owe. Let's say I got a $5,000 collection. VA is going to want to hold a monthly payment, assuming that if you were to make that debt correct and you were to get on a repayment agreement, you would have to pay 5% of the balance, and we would include that in your monthly obligations. How about your eligibility certificate, right? Your certificate of eligibility. So VA loans will actually let you buy as much money as the bank wants to give you if you have full entitlement, right? So you could buy $1 million property with no money down if you have full entitlement. If you have used your entitlement before and it's still on another property, or maybe if you lost that property and VA took a loss, you can still use your entitlement again. It's called bonus entitlement. Not very many VA buyers know that you can use your eligibility over and over and over again, or you can use it more than once, even though it's been partially used. So right now, the conforming loan amount's around $800,000 or so. Let's say you bought a house a few years ago, you bought it for $300,000. Now you want to buy another one. You still have $500,000 worth of eligibility that you can use to go buy another VA loan with no down payment. It's a great way to go. So hope some of these hacks help keep you safe. Hope you learned a little bit about VA loans, and we do this on the daily. So give me a call and we can help you too.